Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Bulletproof Dental Practice podcast. I'm coming to you live from my office. Craig is coming to you live from outer space with his Zoom background. He's trying to hold back a laugh. And I couldn't be more excited about today's guest, who is more like a friend than a guest. Craig and I work with this gentleman. He has spoken at 2 of our summits. Gifted beyond belief, has helped Craig and my practice continue to grow. Is one of those people that, we work with you, Nathan, and you're fully vested in the success of our practice. Not like a lot of contractors, or, I hate to use that word contractors, not like a lot of people that I've employed in my business, in my life. You really are, I feel like you're an integral team member, a partner that's helped grow us. Nathan French is his name. He's got a small agency now because we pushed him into that direction. It's called Attention Driven, because everything in marketing, you guys, is predicated on attention. And that's what we teach at Bulletproof Summit. And it's getting attention and getting eyeballs on what we do to glorify the amazing practices that we all have who are listening. So I'm really glad, Nate. I've been waiting for this and excited to get you on, because you're just an amazing dude from a talent perspective, and just as a friend and a human. And I'm excited.
Thanks, man. So, excited to be here. This is gonna be great. This is a long time coming.
Craig, how's the weather in space?
It's actually really cold. It's negative 137 degrees.
Is there any corona up there?
Not yet, but there's been nonstop flights from New York daily to Mars, so we're worried about that. Actually, look at my real background. This is actually even nicer. That's really where it's
But space is funny. I actually like you in space. Yeah. Go back to space, please.
Okay. Well, for those of you who are not watching and listening to this, I have virtual backgrounds on my Zoom, so I'm coming. That's probably at least that's at least a couple 1,000 miles away from Earth. What is that? That's Australia, isn't that right behind me?
No.
Is that a further that's long enough distance?
It's Wuhan right there. I can see it.
God. And for those of you who don't realize, we're recording this right at the apex of the zombie apocalypse pandemic. But Nathan, it's good to have you here, man. We only get to spend 1 hour, 2 hours a year physical contact, so this could satisfy for one of those requirements. I think we're good now for 2020.
Yeah, right. We don't even have to get together at all. We just be like, all right, scratch that lunch. This is it. You're on the podcast. We're good, man.
Hey, Nathan, I want to bring up a funny story. So we wanted to get together because we have such limited physical time together at our last summit, which, even though it was only a month and a half ago, seems like a million years ago. And Nathan and I are just sitting down and get into like a whole bunch of just how's life type of conversation. And I felt so bad, but I had to do it. Like, these 3 doctors came up to try to pick Nathan in my brain, like during lunch. And I leaned over and I'm like, hey guys, I'm really sorry. I only get like 1 hour a year with my buddy here. So can we just table this discussion and pick it up later?
No, but it was also too, it was right after I had spoken. So like I get off stage and like, obviously there's people that want to come talk and like get my card and connect. And so like, I finally like go through all that and I talk to people, and like Craig and I, like the last ones going through the lunch line, and like, hey man, let's go find a table and sit down and connect. And so like, we just sit down, and as soon as we sit down, some guy leans over and is like, oh, I love your speech. Like, I love what you had to say. And Craig just immediately was like,
Craig, was it sweaty back? Actually, Nate, was it sweaty back? Was everyone uncomfortable? Or was like crickets, like Craig being like, hey, because Craig, you have a way of saying it really nicely. Like my wife can do stuff. Like she can say mean stuff in a nice way. And people are like, okay, no problem. But I say it, people are like, you're an asshole.
No, I think the guy, Craig said it in a pretty nice way. He was like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, this is our one chance for you to get together and like connect and like actually like just talk about life and catch up. And
well, you did. In their defense, you did freaking clobber that
Clobbered it, bro. My God.
I was actually worried. I'd never heard you spoke. I even told you this. Like, we had you. I was like, you got to speak and talk of what you're doing for Craig and I, like on stage, because like our video funnels and the stuff that we figured out, all 3 of us, and like, yeah. And it's been amazing. And so I really wanted to bring awareness to that, but you clobbered it. And but I'd never heard you speak before. And you said, hey, dude, I'm going to bring it. And I was like, okay.
So me too. So I'm like, I go in the night before, it's like 11:30, and Nathan's like practicing his speech, right? Like on stage. But what I didn't realize, he's just like going through the motions and like, advancing his slides. He's just getting his timing down. So I think that he's really bringing. I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna bomb, because you're just literally like, okay, blah 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 blah. Next slide, yeah, blah blah blah. Next slide. I'm like, oh damn, I didn't want to say. I just walked out. I like saw you, and I didn't want to say anything.
Well, we had enough crises that night from like
oh my God.
trying to find the clicker and the room and the.
What was that thing called? The double clicker? What was the
like
thing?
something Perfect Q or something like that.
Perfect got it from the Houston-based drug dealer who came over and just hopped out of his minivan to pass.
It was quite a saga, but so my expectation after seeing you go through your rote practice, I'm like, oh God, Nathan's gonna frickin' bomb. Like it's Showtime at the Apollo, like pull up the clown and pull you off. But
and I remember telling you though, Pito, that's the one thing since I was young, it's the one thing I've always felt comfortable doing. You were amazing. I never get nervous. I never feel like uncomfortable being up there. I'm always just like, you know what, like, yeah, I can do this. Like, I'm just going to be me and we'll talk and I'll explain my ideas.
Yeah, but the value, man, it was like drinking. Yeah. People were frenetically scribbling down
I think you got some stand-up ovations even. I could have sworn.
They clapped after the video. We'll give a shout out to what's the dental practice in Missouri that did that commercial that we showed.
Oh,
that was the one that got that wonderful commercial. I forget the name of it.
Oh my God, that was so good.
Yeah, and people love that video. That was the one that got the stand up.
The innovative
dental of Springfield. That's it. Yeah.
So, Nate, and the other thing I want to say on this is that Craig, how many years have we been? Probably 40 years, probably cumulative years together, you and I, right? Meaning not you and I, but in dentistry, right? As business owners.
21 years for me, yeah.
Yeah. So like, I'd say I can't count the number of people that have told me they have overpromised, especially in dental marketing, and underdelivered. It's literally countless. Everyone says, yeah, we're going to do this, and they just take that money on a retainer and then nothing happens. But like, you've been the first person that is truly underpromised and over-delivered on a continual basis, and that's why it was so important to get you in front of the Bulletproof audience and the summit. And that's why I thought it was so important to bring your awareness. Bring your awareness to the podcast, right? And even though I know you're a small agency and you probably don't have any fit after Summit to even have any more clients, but I just think it's important to talk about some of these things, because right now is a very important time. It's not to shrink and contract, right? From a COVID perspective. Soon it's going to be time to kind of turn back on the lights and go burn the boats. And marketing is going to be able to help with that.
For being proactive. Like, there's a lot of dentists who have a lot of time, like, sit down, brainstorm what your video ideas would be, like, collaborate, do some keyword research, think about the content you could be creating, put together a content schedule. Like, just because your doors are closed doesn't mean the practices.
So let's back up. Let's talk about like how you got started, like what you're doing, like kind of like what you did in the presentation, and then how you got kind of to where you are now.
So I guess, how far back do you want me to go? It's a long story. How long we can start?
Well, yeah, like give us the Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes. Graduated from college in Milwaukee.
Whoa, too far. That's too far. I don't care.
Too far. I want to sport up. I guess the marketing.
You go back to when you learn how to ride a bike. I'm really interested in that.
It all started a spring day, 1992. I went from basically living abroad, teaching English, traveling, and went back to the U.S., worked odd jobs, saved some money, but I had a marketing degree, always had experience in marketing. And I was like, I want to learn about how to live and work wherever I want. Traveling, being location dependent was a huge thing for me. It was a big goal.
Where are you coming from now? Where are you reporting from right now?
I am in Sayulita, Mexico.
Which is right by Zihuatanejo. Is it Zihuatanejo? Is that? I always remember that from Shawshank Redemption. You buy that?
I think that's Baja. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's on the Baja Peninsula. Yeah, he is right.
Oh, whatever. I mean, how far is that?
Sorry, we interrupted. Craig, we're being bad hosts. All right, keep going, bud.
But he's being a good guest listener.
He is noted.
So basically quit my odd jobs, moved to Colombia, moved to Medellin. Specifically, had heard that Medellin was a hotspot for entrepreneurs, hotspot for people in the digital marketing, just online entrepreneurial space.
And what else, though?
What else is there?
What else? Hotspot, what else?
Great nightlife. I will not lie. The women are beautiful.
Ripping lines everywhere.
People are just incredibly warm and friendly. I'll just give a shout out. Anyone who's thinking about traveling to South America, Colombia and Medellin should be the absolute top of your list there. Colombian people are wonderful. But yeah, so then I started just slowly and surely learning about advertising on Facebook and YouTube ads. And I started building websites and kind of experimenting and learning different things. Got real into copywriting, started working through a platform called Upwork, but was never really serious about it. It was just something that, you know, I liked it, I enjoyed it, I was good at it, and it fueled my ability to travel, to go to Peru for 6 weeks, go to Patagonia for 6 weeks, and then coming back from some of those big trips, I ended up linking up with you, Pete, on Upwork, and you hired me. And then that kind of began my process of really marketing for dentists and kind of learning and understanding the dental world, and understanding not just the dental world, but more importantly, how dentists are perceived, like the perception and kind of how the public looks at going to the dentist. Because I'd see it from the ad campaigns that we'd run, from the videos that we'd launch. So worked with you for at least, I want to say 6, 7, 8 months, then started working with Craig as well in the Spodak Dental Group. And then just through that evolution, and then kind of, as you guys said, we just kind of learned that, wow, this, everything we're doing, and if we can create these videos and use them in these sequences, this is exactly how dentists should be.
Well, like Craig has always said, we have big test kitchens, right? And we just created an open awareness of like, hey, this is working for Craig, let's do this. And you were able to kind of ping and pong all the things, and you had this big ad budget to say like, and I feel like, I tell people, I feel like we've cracked the code sometimes in terms of awareness, because for instance, in the mastermind, we're having one-on-one calls right now, and I'm hearing some dentists where it's like, yeah, I'm advertising, I'm just doing AdWords. And I'm like, okay, but are you quantifying your ad spend? Meaning, because sometimes in AdWords, like Craig, in your area, how much is the word Invisalign on AdWords?
I have no idea. I would imagine like north of $5-7.
Yeah, it's probably $14.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can burn through and if you're paying $14 for that set of eyeballs to land on your website for that keyword, your ad budget doesn't go very far.
No.
Right. And you're in a crowded space on like AdWords. So I feel like, going back to the cracking the code, I feel like you have found us opportunities to take a limited ad budget and just get massive amounts of traction, traffic, and eyeballs and conversions on the site through different mediums, and going where it's not crowded per se.
Oh yeah, YouTube. We'll talk about that later. We'll have to get into like YouTube funnels and some of that stuff. But yeah, it's really, I think the biggest thing too was the psychological cracking the code, for at least for me, and maybe this is obvious for a lot of dentists, and maybe there's a lot of dentists listening who understand this, but as soon as I understood and learned that not many people like the dentist or going to the dentist, and there's just a tremendous amount of dental fear, my entire mindset shifted from, okay, let's buy clicks, and let's kind of like we were talking about earlier, let's focus on click-through rates and all that stuff. And I was like, no, let's buy confidence. Let's buy attention. Let's show people who we are. Let's let them feel comfortable about coming to our practice and choosing us over else. Because I thought about myself, I was like, why do I go to the dentist that I go to? I was like, well, because my mom told me to go there, and I trusted her. I had her confidence, right? And because my family had always gone there. When I was looking for a new dentist, I had no idea, and it all seemed so scary to me. I was like, well, who should I go to? Like, how do I find credibility? How do I know? And so as soon as I saw that, hey, if we can start creating videos that tell patient stories and that have other patients talking about how great their experience was, and that visually opens people's eyes to like what the practice looks like, what the experience will be like, who they'll see, who the dentist is, who's the doctor, it's a relationship-based business. Are you comfortable? Like, hey, open your mouth for an hour and a half and let me stick my hands in there. Like, you got to be cool with someone before you let them do that. That's right. Not just something you're going to do off of a whim. So as soon as we kind of and it was big with you hiring Bo, and with us really getting more into videos and seeing how not only just like storytelling, but then continued storytelling through the ad sequences, and like, so not just having one touch point, but like 5 or 6.
Yeah. Look, I think gone are the days when you can create a stock art ad and post it on the internet and expect any kind of, how many times do you see an office that just advertise and they take a clip art, stock photo, and they put some content, some text underneath it, and like expect that that's going to convert, versus going next level.
It used to, so that's what it is. It used to work. It used to work,
right? Oh. But now like you always say, Craig, the consumer has gotten way more sophisticated, and that was a big tenet of the summit, was talking about dental storytelling and storytelling marketing inside. And Craig, I know you've been to StoryBrand, which is kind of, that was kind of the thesis of how we do. but a lot of times people feel like, well, there's no real storytelling in dentistry, but there absolutely is in every little component. It doesn't have to be these elaborate long-winded, stories, but there are stories to tell. And if we can capture that and you can then create awareness around that at scale, it's game over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think we have it a lot easier than most consumer companies. I mean, some of the most amazing story brand ads I've heard of are Procter and Gamble. There was like this one about moms. It's like, it has nothing to do with like Tide detergent and toilet paper, whatever, but it's just like, it shows a bunch of like children, very small children learning to ski and learning to ice skate, and they fall down, they're crying, and the mom comes running over and puts ice on them, and then it shows them as they're preteens and they're falling and they're crying, and then they win something, and then they lose something, and everybody's crying. At the end, they show slow motion like the Olympic skier going down the mountain, and slowly pans over to the mother, and the mother's just filled with tears, and it's brought to you by Procter and Gamble, which has nothing to fucking do with like your mother or your or Gerber not. I'm sorry.
Or your clean clothes
or your clean clothes. It's just such a jump. But in dentistry, we're so fortunate that we actually help people. When people do business with their dentist, they are healthier. We're selling them health. We're getting them out of pain. We're taking away fear. We're giving them confidence. We're building confidence. We have an ability to change a profession that's already riddled with negativity. So the story brand marketing is uniquely suited to dentistry, in fact, so I would propose.
And, a big paradigm shift, and then Nathan, I'm gonna let you talk on this as well. But a big shift that's been for me was early in my career of marketing. It was how many fellowships can I aggregate? How many awards can I do? How much can I talk about me being the hero of my practice? So that I can aggregate or collect patients because I'm the hero and I can fix them kind of thing. Right. And that was a broken philosophy in marketing, and something that we in our practice have turned completely on our heads. No longer are we the heroes. No longer do we want to be the heroes. Our patients are the heroes of the practice, and we are the guides to get them there through the stories of what they do, whether that's a new night guard that they've got, massive clenching and grinding and it's making their life miserable, to smile designs, to Invisalign, to crowded teeth, to perio, to bad breath, whatever that story is, there is something in there, and we are just the guide, right? We are just the proxy, the conduit to get them from point A to point B, and that's it. And as soon as you can turn that mind shift on in your marketing, it makes massive difference, because everything you see now becomes an opportunity to kind of create awareness around that.
I think that's a natural human instinct, though, just to live in our own heads, think about ourselves. We're all living in our own personal realities. And I think with dentists, that translates to their marketing, right? You just think that people want to hear about your new DSD technology and how you're able to turn around implants and veneers in a month or 2 weeks, and like the particulars. I used it at the speech in the summit. I said, imagine you're going on like a hike, or you're going on a trek, and you're going to like meet your guide on the trek, and he like comes up to you and says, well, we have this thermos, and we have this tent that's rated for this gear, and then we have this sleeping bag that you can sleep in, and it's rated to minus 20 degrees. And then we have all, he could talk about the specifics of the process and the gear he's going to use to get you there. Or he could just show you pictures from other people's trips and other people's hikes and be like, hey, I took a couple from Portland up to this point last week, and we saw the sunset, and we camped there,
sunset,
right?
and it changed their life, and they got engaged. And whatever.
Like this. I took a couple of kids and their parents up to here, and we got to go swimming and jump off waterfalls up here. Like you can show them the actual stories, and again, you're just the guide, and you're helping them to see their hero come to life, I guess, because that's what people.
And by the way, have we ever talked about this on a podcast? Because I know we're going into guide and story brand, but is this, because I get confused if this was just a summit thing or not, like why the human brain is wired for story. Have we talked about that before, Pete?
I think we maybe touched on it, but you're right. You get confused as to what you've talked about in the podcast.
Because we talk so much, and I just want to briefly talk about, I want to briefly just tell people what this is. So your human brain consumes like 1,500 calories a day. And human beings were really quite an efficient species. Most mammals have, thick skin and bones and skeletal structure to defend against predators. We're pretty soft as a species. So the only thing we have in our defense is we have this massive brain, and the brain is inefficient because it consumes tons of calories. So in order to survive, your body has developed a very unique mechanism to tune out what's useless information. So when you're hearing someone that comes up to you in a cocktail party and you ask them what they do and they start telling you, I help people save their, and they go on, your brain just turns them off because you're like, this is not worth my calories. I got to turn this guy out because I got to survive. I got to use these calories elsewhere. So there's a mechanism that human beings have in their genetic code, and it's to listen and be able to understand stories. So we're built to relay stories. It's the reason why cavemen painted on their walls, and also the reason why we can sit through 2 hours of Forrest Gump and not even check our phones once, because you're wired to receive a story. So advertising has been focused mostly, at least in my experience, on getting awards for being so creative. And somehow someone made an assumption that if it's creative enough, it'll sell stuff. And, there are things like that, the caveman from Geico, and there are unique examples to that. But really the best thing you can do is, in a very succinct way, is tell the consumer, hey, this is worth calories because here's the story of how I'm going to take you, who's hopeless and scared, and bring them to a confident person.
Well, there's two questions, right, Greg? It's survive. You audit it with,
how can this help me survive?
Is this going to help me survive? And is this going to help me thrive?
Right.
To two questions. And that's the calorie consumption. And that's the filter, right? Because there's 10,000 marketing messages a day that you have to filter through. And if something doesn't check both of those boxes, right, it make your life better, make it less painful, all these things, right?
Can I just build off what Craig said? Because
please.
Yeah, our brain is our superpower. It's the reason we were able to remove ourselves from the food chain, evolutionary, through evolution. The brain is the most important thing we have. And the most important part of the brain is the part that we use to communicate and connect with others. Our ability to do this, to talk and make sounds with our mouths and understand ideas and high-level concepts and work together. That's how we were able to fend off other predators and other animals, build these communities and societies and civilizations. And to connect is what we all want to do. It's what we're programmed to do. It's a survival thing. It's not only something that makes us feel good, but it's also something that ensures our success and our sustained survival in the future. And there is no more important feature to connecting with people than a smile. As a dentist, you are selling the gateway to people's ability to connect with the rest of the world. I would encourage anyone out here, any single dentist, to go to a bar when they open or a restaurant and try to meet someone without smiling. Try to meet another single person without smiling. Try to go a day without smiling at people and see how effective. Your smile is like the gateway to who you are. It's your first opportunity to show people hey, I'm cool, I'm friendly, I'm nice. Let's connect. Let's in any way, shape, or form.
So Nate, talk about why, because Craig and I are full believe in this, because Craig has a full-time, we are big believers in videography, right? Because
I like how you stopped right in the middle of it. Craig is a full-time. I got that.
No, I said Craig has. I was probably mumbling.
Yeah.
But obviously, we're big believers in it because it's just without video, it's really hard to communicate with the attention, given all the aforementioned we've just said, right? It's really hard to break through that survive and thrive filter with a stock photo and some messaging, because no one wants to read anymore. You've got, you've got a fraction of a second to get someone's attention and then keep it. So we always talk about video. Can you talk about how that's kind of the thesis for your agency?
Yep. So
and how you've built, a really efficient protocol based on that. Yep.
So as you said, video is what people prefer. Attention spans are shortening up. We're visual creatures. We prefer video way more than we prefer to read something or see an image and then have to read text associated with it. So video is the best way to capture people's attention. So let's look at attention as let's look at it as a currency or something you're fishing for. You're trying to gather attention. Well, the first thing you have to do is use video, because that's the type of content that people prefer. If you're going to fish, use the bait that the fish like to eat, right? So that's number one. Number two is it's the best way to remarket and to establish multiple contact points or touch points with a user. So in both the Facebook Business Manager and in the Google Ads platform, you have the option to go in, create an audience based off of people who have engaged with a specific video. So for Facebook, for example, let's say we run an ad with a video on Facebook. So we run that ad. Anyone who then watches 50% of that video, and I can set, my team and I, we can set timeframes to it. So in a 7-day period,
this is your ad funnel you're talking about, right?
What's that?
This is your ad funnel that you've kind of created.
These are like the ad funnels that we'll set up for people locally.
Right.
So 7-day, 14-day, 21-day window. We have different parameters depending on the number of videos we have and the goals of the practice, the size of the budget. But the idea is, so then they've watched that video, then they're going to be in a specific period of time. Again, they're going to be shown another ad with a different video that again talks about a patient story or the practice or a service that you offer. It's again, building confidence, building trust. And now
it's curating that lead as well, meaning someone because people don't usually just see the ad the first time, be like, yeah, I'm going to call them. They have to be like, God, I keep seeing them everywhere. They're following me around and look at this. Yeah. So I hear it. I love it. Keep going.
So, and you talked about this at the summit. The rule of 7 has become the rule of 21. You know, the old marketing adage was you need 7 points of contact with a cold lead or a cold customer to convert them into a purchasing customer. And now, as Craig has talked about a lot, people are getting smarter. They're getting savvier. You know, you need to have way more touch points and contact points with them to, again, build that trust, earn that confidence, and really get their attention and awareness of who you are to a point where they're going to buy. So it wouldn't just be on Facebook. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on Instagram. We'll do SEO stuff where you're on the first page locally for SEO. So there's, you know, just again, a lot more options available to you as a dental practice if you're using video in your marketing campaigns, because it opens a lot of doors for you to remarket and set up creative remarketing strategies from there.
I think probably a lot of dentists hearing that is just video has always been such a daunting task. It has in my career. I remember, you know, anytime you talk about video, it's like people all of a sudden assume these massive production crews and this expensive, elaborate videos and editing and post. And oh my gosh, everything has to be perfect. And I want to be the first person that says that like, that actually does not have to be the case anymore. And so can you talk about like some of the most effective ads that you've seen, some of them being raw, some of them maybe even being selfie style, but don't let the production be an impediment is where I'm going.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, I wouldn't say let the production be, and understand that part of the evolution of, I think, social media in general is, so it was just this novel 10 years ago, novel thing. People were learning how to use it. It was a great place to go and get cheap clicks and get, you know, really cheap awareness and attention for your business. But now, as you know, the adoption of it has just mushroomed and exploded. Now people are searching more for authenticity. They're looking for someone who's genuine, who kind of has a good vibe, who's real. They want to know who you are. They want to connect and kind of understand the human side behind the practice, not just what you're offering. So I think that's one part of it. So if you're doing a selfie video, you might think, oh, this doesn't look great, or this doesn't look too, you know, polished or professional. But for a lot of people, they're like, oh, this is a real video. Their perception will be, this is a real video that he just shot. This is what his real life's like. This is how he talks. He's not trying to hire some professional video marketing.
You know what's an amazing camera setup production studio?
Your phone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And by the way, look at to the general audience, how we've trained them to prefer the sloppy, jerky camera angles. I mean, look at when Friends and Seinfeld were the #1 TV shows. It was all staged and everything. The lighting was perfect. Now everything's the Kardashians reality shows, and the cameras are jumping around. They're with GoPros in their cars.
We've been programmed that way through the Kardashians, through TikToks, through Instagram photos, through lives. Like that is the new preferred, through YouTube's. Right. Like that is the new preferred methodology. Almost.
When I shot a really elaborate television commercial, series of television commercials. They're on my YouTube channel, but they're like 5-7 years old now. God, they're maybe more than that, maybe 8 or 9 years old. They were super elaborate with a really high quality production company. And we used
the lighting had to be perfect and everything.
Perfect. Makeup, the whole thing, sound, makeup. I had like 15 people, like literally doing these commercials, 15 people. And all the people that knew me are like, oh, they'd know me from the TV commercials. They're like, oh my God, your actresses and actors, those people that played the patients were so believable. I was like, what do you mean actors? Like the people that you had saying that they love their smile. I was like, oh no, those are patients. Like, oh no, they weren't. They were actors, right? I'm like, no, they were. So what I'm trying to say is that the elaborate production quality made it less believable. Same with the stock image. So if your stock image is that happy woman eating salad, you know, that stock image that everybody uses.
That everyone uses.
She's really excited. She has her bowl with tomatoes and lettuce, and she's smiling ear to ears with perfect makeup as the salad's entering her mouth. People don't believe that. So it's better that you actually do it less budgeted and less professional. It'll be more believable. I think that the consumer's used to that.
And
The one thing that I would mention, and Craig and I are big sticklers for this, and we always talk about this, and Nate is video. The quality of your video is less important than the sound of your video.
Oh yeah, sound.
Right?
I love that.
Sound people, bad sound people will not tolerate. They will not watch
because
it.
it wastes calories. You can't hear it. Your brain says, I can't spend the extra 25 calories to try to figure out what they just said.
You know, at the summit, Craig, I've gotten so much good feedback on that sheet that we made, where it's like basically the iPhone video setup. That's almost like it gives you pro quality because the lighting and such. I wonder if we could just offer that up with a way to, maybe we should put that sheet on the website finally, because it really is a great little setup.
Well, let's gamify it. We'll talk about that later. I got some ideas.
All right. Well,
I got some ideas, but yeah, that's key. That's so key. And by the way, Gabe finally invested in a point and shoot SLR after he was my videographer. I was like, no, we don't need that. It's going to be great with the iPhone. Now we freaking love it. It's so much different. So much different.
What, the SLR?
The SLR.
So well, that's it. Look, but that's an evolution, right? And so when you have, my point is the barrier to entry shouldn't be the equipment, because the equipment is sitting in your pocket, right? And as you get some chops and have more fun with it, and you get more sophisticated with it, maybe it's time for an SLR or some fancy cameras, and look at me in this thing. I've created a blurry f-stop behind me. So you can get more creative with it.
Yeah, but every 4 minutes it goes to the PBS after hours bars. So I don't. Hey, why does it do that?
Settle down and go back to space, because it thinks it thinks we're it thinks that it's not active. It thinks it's not active, and it's just going there because it's hey, go back to space, man.
In space again.
Sorry, Craig. We're making a guest listener out of Nathan, and I don't want that.
Oh, good. I like hearing you guys talk. I enjoy the podcast for the banter. I think a lot of people do too.
Yeah, well, it's scripted.
One thing we've all got these guys is time. You know, like we can go for hours on this podcast.
Yes, exactly. Make this into a Joe Rogan.
To do, right?
2 hours.
So, Nate, talk a little bit more about. Just talk about. I liked how you were going down the sequencing of the funnels and talking about.
Yep. So sequencing funnels, YouTube. That's the other thing I would say. Why people should be using video. You can start advertising on YouTube. I think that YouTube is a vastly underrated marketing platform for dentists that they should all be running ads on. With the campaigns that we run, we get views for a lot of your guys' videos, and I don't know if you guys mind me sharing this, but I mean 6, 7 cents. 4 cents, 3 cents. I mean, think of that. For 3 cents, you're getting someone to watch a video for a minimum of 30 seconds. If not, it's either 30 seconds or 50% of the video. Some of our videos are 3-4 minutes long. If you're getting someone's attention for 2 minutes for 4 cents, again, attention is the currency.
How long do you want to do that deal for?
Yeah,
forever.
All day long. Yeah. So again, no video means no YouTube. And then the big thing, we've touched on this several times, video is the best way. Really a big part of what we do at Attention Driven is we help to tell
something we talked about on our mastermind call last night, and was something called lookalike audience. Can you talk about that real quickly? I know I'm getting, as Craig says, a little tangential, but I think it's a good low hanging fruit for those of audience who are listening who maybe do their own Facebook ads.
Yep. So the lookalike audience is an audience that you can create, and you can create it both in the Facebook Business Manager and in Google Ads. And I'll just break it down real simple. So for anyone who's thinking like, oh, what about Instagram? So Facebook and Instagram are all the ad campaigns are managed in one platform. So it's a click of a button to say, I want to only send ads to Instagram. I want to only send ads to Instagram stories. I want to only send ads to Facebook. So you can create if you're going to do this for Instagram as well, you can create these audiences in the same platform. And essentially what you do is you will take an email list. You'll have to format it to fit within the formatting requirements of Google and Facebook's platform, which is basically like just condense everything down to first name, last name, email, phone number. And what they'll then do is you can upload the emails into the platform. The system will go through and try to match.
As just a large data set, right? You upload it as a set.
And then they'll match that to profiles that they have. Like, so if there's an email address on your list that links to an email address that someone uses in their profile, if they have a name and phone number. And so then what Facebook will do is they'll create that audience as that core data set. And then you can create lookalike audiences where Facebook will take an aggregate of the demographic data on the people in that core audience and say, okay, it looks like most of them are between this age range. Most of them are, male.
I think that was a turning point, Nate, in doing stuff like that, because like our practices have been around for a while. So you get a large data set of people who do, right? And so it was so cool to be able to say, hey, here are all the people who love us. Go out and find people just like them, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean,
and advertise to them.
Yeah, imagine selling like Toyota pickups to, people who like Porsches.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like in general advertising, it's been like, hey, I think people like the Super Bowl might like Toyota. And it's like, that's not true. The Super Bowl is not enough of a demographic profile. But now you've got everything you've ever liked on Facebook, every place you've ever gone to. I mean, the demographics are so rich.
And the same with Google, right? And it's just a different context. I don't know. It's not a lookalike audience, but like, yeah, look, these services are free. And I always tell someone that like, if the service that you're using is free, like Facebook and Google, you are the product, right? And so they've been collecting data on you so that they can monetize that data. And so now we get to use that the collection of data to our advantage if you can do it in the right way.
Well, and the thing too, and I don't know if this is going to apply to all dental practices, but for larger practices like yours and for Craig's, where you have massive email lists, and you and I have even started doing this, and we started doing this earlier this year. We'll take that massive list and we'll say, hey, let's see how many people just came in for veneers procedures in the past year.
Let's
and
see
Craig, we did that one for you. Like, let's see how many people let's just get our Invisalign patient list, and let's just go after people who are coming in for Invisalign and see if we can't get people who are similar to them in terms of their demographic.
It's just fun. And if anyone who's like I'm a fan of like game theory, and I don't play chess, I like to watch it, and like I'm fascinated with strategy.
I'm gonna bring that up later, by the way, that you like to watch chess.
But you know what I mean? Like I like to like even that Go, like I like to watch that YouTube machine, not YouTube, that Deep Blue machine that kind of beats all the Go players, because Go is a really challenging Chinese game.
Did you see that documentary?
Yeah.
Oh, that was fascinating to me, huh? How it started coming up with new moves that like people had never seen before.
But thinking like 10 steps ahead, right? And so that's what advertising is. It's like, because you get data, you get results, you get ROI, and then you get to kind of reformulate your strategy based on the data that you're getting. And so I've always thought it was kind of like just game theory.
We've never known which, the old adage of advertising is you're spending double what you should spend, but you don't know which half to cut out. And that's been the old adage. I mean, that's what I grew up with. I was an early adopter into advertising, and I was pushing like some of the largest advertising companies. See what I'm talking about, Nate?
That's okay.
So I was, talking with one of the largest advertising companies back in like 2004 and 5 and saying, we got to do YouTube. No, you want to embed your video player in like YouTube. And then Google bought YouTube, and then it was all game over. But it's amazing how we know exactly what works now, exactly what works. So
there are some things that look, everyone always talks about ROI, Nate, and I had so many discussions at the summit on this space. I know we keep referencing the summit, but it was like, what's the ROI on this? And I said, look, at some point in time, you can't measure everything, and some is just brand awareness.
Oh yeah, most of it is brand awareness,
and so
and
you just have to be confident with your strategy that like it's working and converting. But can you track every lead and click that comes in your office? You probably could, but it would be a full-time freaking job for you as the dentist who needs to be producing dentistry.
And we track this. Like, I don't want to ever and I'm just going to build off that, because you bring up a good point. We track this for both of your practices. We track new patient signups, click-through rates, clicks. Right. But our most important metric is how many people are we engaging? How many eyeballs are we getting? What is the attention? What is the awareness? Because dentists, and I think it just needs to be like a cold reminder, like a just real straight reminder, no one really likes going to the dentist. No one wants to hear about you on social media. No one's there to hear about those services. Like I joked about it with you guys, you kind of fall into the same category as divorce lawyers. A lot of people really only look you up when they're, in need of a dental procedure, when it's something that they really have to get done. And so I think it's important to think about, like, when you're on social media, you can't play within the same rules of, like, you are not an e-commerce company like the Kardashians, where you can, track a click to a sale to, this return, like this ROI on our ad spend. You need to think of it in terms of how much attention am I creating? How much awareness am I creating? Because the purchasing process, or what it's going to look like, is someone's going to see a video, see an ad, maybe watch a bit of it, then they'll watch another one, then they'll see another one. And then a month down the line, when they need to go to the dentist or something comes up, or a friend needs to go to the dentist, it's going to be like, hey, I actually saw some really cool videos of these patient stories, and I've heard about this dental practice in Atlanta called Atlanta Dental Spa. It seems like they they really go above and beyond to make people comfortable. You should check them out. Like, that's more of the purchasing process. It's a different industry. So you have to use different metrics and kind of play by different rules. You can't follow the rule book that was set aside by people who run ad campaigns for e-commerce businesses,
right,
who run ad campaigns for someone who teaches a real estate investing course. Like, that's a completely different animal. It's just completely different, especially if you're local, right? Like, if you're a local dental practice and you're working in a small market, like, there's only so many clicks you can get, but you can continuously get new engagement and new awareness and new attention by creating.
Well, it just goes to show you the way, as you're talking, Nate, I kind of thought of it as like, imagine like this person's just constantly eating messaging, because the reason why it's 21 times and not 7 times is because there's advertisements on everything. We occupy every area that we could possibly fit. I mean, pop sockets and chapsticks and my shirt has logos all over it. My computer has logos all over it. So it's that we just need to be part of that continuous stream of material that people are digesting. Because if you stop and you just say, I got enough patients and everything's cool, your brand awareness will slowly go away. So it's just this constant and steady stream. And it's true. I mean, could your advertising land on the right person at the right time, right when they're like, I wonder if I need veneers, and then boom, your ad shows up? Yeah, of course. But it's better that they just know you as that branded expert. Like, I don't know, I'm not in the place to buy a knife, like a pocket knife. But Gerber Knives has some of the most amazing story brand advertising. And when I want to go buy a pocket knife, I'll probably find a Gerber knife because they're a badass company.
Something that I heard a long time ago that really resonated with me, and I don't know who said this quote, but they said, and this applies to a lot of dentists, if your practice isn't where you want it, it's not, the issue isn't that you're not good at your job. It's this, no one knows what you're doing.
Grant Cardone. Yeah, no one knows.
That is Cardone. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that is true. Like, if you're not a successful dentist or not successful to your own metrics, if you will, if you want to grow or you're struggling, it's probably not because you're a bad dentist. It's just because you've lacked to create the awareness and that compelling message to get people to use you, to show people the benefit, to thrive and survive, like we've been talking about.
Can I ask you guys a question? Just for a general conversation. Do you think it's difficult for dentists to be on video and to be, I don't want to say braggadocious, but to be boastful or to be talking about what they're doing, the impact they're having on people, to be in front of a camera? And
I think people in general freak out in front of a camera.
You don't think it's specific to dentists? You think it's just...
No, well, I think there's more so in dentists. I do. And I'm not busting on dentists. I think that a lot of us are by nature are introverts. Mm-hmm. I think that, we've been trained to work alone in some capacities, and I think it's hard and we get self-conscious. I know I was very self-conscious of it early in my career. The cool thing is going back to kind of the video production. It's really freaky when you have a film crew. Like Craig is a natural, can do it in front of 15 people in a film crew. Boom, banged out a commercial. I would shit my pants. Right. So, but the beauty thing, I used to do this, you guys, I'm not kidding you. I used to take a camera, an SLR camera, go in on a Saturday, prop up a tripod, turn on the camera and record myself. And how many times did I say, shit, that was horrible? And I would go back and delete it. It would take me 30 takes sometimes. But guess what? Ultimately, I got one that was okay. So like, that's the beauty of having this thing, right? And this setup is going into your office, with a selfie stick. If you don't like it, who cares? All you did was embarrass yourself in front of yourself. Like no one cares.
Every dentist that's listening to this right now should be, if you're in quarantine, you're in your house.
Get in your damn office.
A video a day. You should write down I'm doing 2 videos a day, because you said it perfectly. You have to be bad to get good. You got to suck. You got to make bad videos and look awkward and look at yourself and realize that. And then if you get that out of the way, when you do work with the video production company, if you hire a videographer, when you start to create more videos that you really want to invest time and money into, you already have that runway of I've learned.
Yeah, it's reps, just like
are, right? It's just reps. Yeah, you got to get them in.
So I have a doctor in my practice, and he wouldn't mind me saying this. His name's Dr. Kirby, and like I have forced him to get in front of the camera, and he hated it in the beginning, and he was pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. In the beginning, he was pretty dreadful. And he would even say that. But now you watch him and this evolution of this confidence and this swagger that's come just from getting repetitions and going to the metaphorical gym of doing more reps and him having to do it time and time again. It's amazing to watch the videos of what was done 5 years ago to what's done now. Amazing.
So I just had a call with one of our mastermind people, and what I come to realize is that it's not that the videography is so hard. It's that you've got to feel comfortable with what you're talking about. And you say that I have a knack for it. And the reason why I've developed a knack for it is because I have to speak from my heart. So if you gave me a script to read, I would be stuck in my head and I would not be able to get the script out. I would stumble on every single word.
Yeah.
But I think dentists have a hard time because we want to be liked. We don't want to be rejected. We have a hard time developing our authentic selves. And when you're in your authentic self, when you're speaking from your heart, you got into dentistry because you wanted to help people. You want to save people from disease. You want to help them look better. And it's not about you. So when you're looking in the video camera, you're like, oh, I suck. I'm not doing this right. You're thinking about yourself, and it's not about you. It's about serving other people. So if you could start getting into the frame of, this is why I love what I do. This is what makes me, this is what I would do even if I wasn't paid. So if you got on video and you tapped into that, if you spoke from your heart, people will hear you with their heart as well. So if you're trying to stumble in your brain what words to say, you're going to fall on deaf ears. But if you actually can sit and say, why do I love dentistry? What do I love? I'm talking to the patient that's scared right now. They're scared. They're looking at me. They've got tears in their eyes. They haven't been to the dentist in 5 years. And now open your eyes and say, I know you're scared.
I've got a hack for that, Craig, because I do, right? Because you can do that naturally. So,
well, no, it's not. I mean, I'd go through that process. I'm like, who am I speaking to? I'm not
get a
whiteboard.
Get in your office, Nate. This is the assignment. Get in your office. Get that tripod. Get a whiteboard and write 3 things up on there. 3 bullet points of things that you want to cover. And it's okay if you glance over and look at this, because it is hard to get up unscripted and like, what am I going to say and having to remember. So that's the hack I give some people, and I use it all the time. It's just like, here's the 3 things. Also, another topic, do not drone on for 5 minutes. Try to do 2 minutes or less, ideally 1 minute, right? Get to the point and say what you're going to say. Sometimes what I see is that we have the video production is too long. And we're trying to say, hey, what is the veneer process, or what's the whole process with Invisalign? It's a documentary by the time we're damn done, and no one's watching it.
Yeah, because the guy who's telling you, it's like an engineer telling you how he built the Dyson vacuum.
Yeah, no one gives a shit. Show me what the benefit is to me. Does it make me look prettier?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. How much does it cost?
Life hack for all of life. The less you think about yourself, the happier you will be, the more successful you will be, the more you will connect. You will just, your marketing, every element of your life will improve if you can get outside of your own head and thinking about
by the way,
thinking about what other people need.
And people that think about themselves, they're not really egotistical. They're called people pleasers. And if you're a pleaser, and I know because I'm a pleaser, it's thinking about yourself, because you're not thinking about them. You're thinking, will they like me? And will they be happy with me? Yeah. So in dentistry, we really need to just make sure that you understand you're in a service industry, and that means you serve others. And the happiest people, the happiest dentists are the ones that serve the most people. And the reason why they serve people is because they can really eloquently communicate how they can add value to people's lives. The people who win in business are the ones who add the most value. So if you can get up on camera and say something like, I know you're scared. I know it's been a long time. I'm not going to judge you. Come in, let's talk, let's get started. And that's it. Even though you didn't go through any of the process, that would be more valuable than like, I'm a diplomat of the American Academy and I went to Pankey and blah, blah, blah. And like, who gives a shit? I don't care about you. What are you going to do for me?
I talked about this at the summit too, people, because I would always tell people like, hey, like, what are you doing? I'm like, so we do video marketing and we create videos and then we distribute them using these sequences and these different strategies. Like, oh, like what types of videos do you do? Like, well, we focus on 2 types, brand awareness and engagement. Then we also really like to focus on patient stories and telling patient stories. And they're like, oh, like a testimonial. And I'm like, no, not like a testimonial, because a testimonial, they're talking about you, man. We don't want them to talk about you. I want to hear about the patient. Like, it is a completely different thing. Like, and people just, they get caught in that, like, they want to talk about what they're doing in their practice. And it's no, I asked the patient, what was your experience with the dentist like before you came in to Atlanta Dental Spa? How do you feel with your
look, there is a place for testimonials, like, just to be clear. We're not saying it's just
I mean, a testimonial could be done in a story. I was scared. I was hopeless. I came here. They were nice.
There you go.
You know, it's not like these guys were great and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, there's a way to say, like, what happened before? I was told I couldn't have it. I came here and they did it. And now look at my life. It's great.
Well, the testimonials often organically just come through the story. they'll just, like, you know, if you get someone on camera and they're talking, they're organically going to get to the point where it was, yeah. And then I found out about the Spodak Dental Group and I came in and it was wonderful and this, and that. And so it organically is going to be a subtle brag for the practice. But the focus really, again, when you go into making the video and when you're concepting it and putting your storyboard together and like really thinking about what the videos look like, it's focus on the patient, you know, you and what you did and what your practice can do. That's secondary. Yep. The primary goal is how can we tell this person's story?
Guys, I'm going to cut us off.
Okay.
It's been an hour.
Look at that. Boom.
Bam.
Right? You're going to take it down. Nate, I just want to say I appreciate the impact you've made for Craig and I. Appreciate the impact you've made for now some of our friends and colleagues, and what you're doing. I think you're doing impactful stuff for sure. And you're moving the needle for us. And again, I don't know what your bandwidth is at your agency or not, but if you want to find or connect with Nate, his website is attentiondriven.com. And Nathan, how would someone get a hold of you? What's the best kind of email? Is it Nathan@attentiondriven?
Yeah, Nathan@attentiondriven.com. They can send me an email there. I can give you guys some links. Maybe you can drop it in the
notes or something
section, or put it in the description of the podcast episode at the end. But yeah, Nathan@attentiondriven.com. We may in the next couple of weeks have some bandwidth to take on new clients. We're pretty booked, so it's going to be, and we're a boutique agency, so we're going to be pretty selective. But yeah, I'd love to. I'm always willing to connect. And
not everyone's a fit, so it's nice that you say like, hey, right, like you want to make sure that you're meshing with, right, you're able to serve the needs of that person, and sometimes it's just not a good fit. I know that I've referred people to you.
A lot of dentists come in and are like, hey, do you do SEO and web design? I'm like, nah, man, we do one thing. We do it really well. It's like,
well, you stayed in your lane, and that's what I think is beautiful. You're not a jack of all trades, master of none. You're literally a master of one thing, and you stay in that lane. And that's what I love, that you're not trying to be all things to all people. And which is unlike a lot of agencies, unfortunately, where they just outsource shit to everyone.
Yeah. Well, they said they do it all and they just outsource it. So
it's like outsource the shit out of it. And then there's no accountability. And like, well, let me connect you with that person. And it's like, oh my God. Yeah. And we unfortunately get preyed upon in dentistry over, if it's not life insurance, it's freaking marketers or
credit card fees.
Credit card fees.
Well,
if it's not one thing,
I'd say the number one thing we get preyed upon is financial services, and then I would say marketing, for sure.
Yeah, marketing. Anyway.
Postcards. They're making us all
so much. There's so much stuff we just say. Yeah, okay. Equipment we don't need anyway. We could go on and on. Anyway, brother, thank you for being on and spending your time with us today. I'm sure it's beautiful weather and surfing weather, and you're sitting inside on a dental podcast. And but we're glad to have you, man. Create awareness for you.
Thanks.
And Nathan, it's so good to have you here, man. Good to see you, buddy.
Appreciate it. Good seeing you guys too.
Okay, man. Until next time, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.